Hi, everyone. Dom Famularo here. This is incredible. I am back. This is so great to have Mapex All Access on these Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've been doing this for a while, and it's been so exciting. We've got an incredible amount of interviews that we've done, and I love the people that join in and sign on and let me know where you're from, and they join in, and they have questions, and there's involvement, and this really is very, very interactive. But first, what I want to bring on is Mapex's brand manager. Would you please welcome Mr. Jeff Mulvihill?
Hey, everyone. Hey, Dom, thanks, man. Thank you. It's another All Access Monday.
This is really All Access Monday. And we've started this for a while ago when the pandemic has started. It's been so great to build this incredible brand of what we have, not only with Mapex, but of course with All Access. But Jeff, I've been doing this now with the interviews, but you've got a whole nother different thing that you're going to be doing. Just talk about what you're going to be doing.
Yeah. So listen, Dom, everyone watching, thanks you so much for what we've made or what we've been able to make out of these All Access series of interviews. You are the perfect guy for this. You're great at what you do. It's been so cool that what we want to do is take it into another level or another direction. So you have been focusing on drummers and Mapex artists. What we want to do is take this to the street, where our drum shops are slowly but surely recovering from all of the challenges of 2020. And what we've done is set up all access retailer events around the country with various retail partners to concentrate on bringing Mapex the information, product details, new products, and some exciting news to each local market. So the internet is awesome because you get to talk to so many people at once. What we want to do is focus on the individual regions of the country where our drum shops are trying to continue to be successful.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now you're doing it in the evenings at 8 o'clock Central Time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
There are a few different times depending on the shops around the country. The full schedule is right up front on the Mapex USA Facebook page. Hopefully some of you have been hearing from your favorite drum shop about when these are occurring. We start tonight with our friends at Mike's Drum Shop in Villa Park, Illinois, Chicago area. We'll actually have an exciting drop-in from Jeff Hamilton's going to talk to us for a couple minutes about his artist drum and what he's been able to do lately. If you're a Mike's Drum Shop fan, head over to their Facebook page and register. Our platform is called Livestorm, and it's a very interactive platform to be able to answer some questions, to be able to play some video, and to be able to show you everything that's been going on with Mapex. As soon as I get finished here, Dom, I'm going to drop that link into the chat for today, and anyone on this broadcast can check it out. But listen, it's a three-way partnership, right? It's brand, it's the player, and the drum shop. This is our circle, our family circle, right?
It really is, and it's so great that you're doing this here because it just widens the reach of keeping people informed about the drum shops like Mike's, which is a great shop, to be involved and hear their story, hear what they're going through, and hear some of the challenges that they had. And let's get all these drummers involved to support these shops and keep the energy of our music industry moving forward.
Energy, drumming, inspiration, all those things. We got to prop each other up. We got to keep on moving. Dom, you say it all the time, onward and upward. What we're trying to do here, and it fits right in with All Access for sure.
Jeff, thank you so much, man. It's so great to have your time. I'm going to definitely tune in for tonight and see exactly what's going on. So I want everybody, I'll be mentioning it again a few more times for everyone to go to Mapex's Facebook page to get the schedule. And this will be absolutely fantastic.
Hey, thank you for the time here. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the internet and around on these virtual events. Please stay tuned here for more with the exciting Brook Alexander. Let's figure out what's going on with him. And Dom, thank you as always, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be involved with this here. You really work your tail off for the Mapex brand and what you're doing, not only as a brand manager, but as a phenomenal player and an artist. And you're going out and you're doing a rehearsal and a gig soon, right?
You know what? Let's hope it sticks. We got a rehearsal this week. We got a gig on Friday. We're gonna play some music for some people.
Oh my gosh, the world is getting back in action. That's very, very exciting. Thank you so much. Stay well and good luck, and we'll tune into All Access with what you're doing with the dealers, man. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Now I want to bring on this artist here that is just a phenomenal player. I've watched several of his performances, and I just love his playing and his energy and his intensity into playing music at the deepest level of any groove. So please welcome, if you would, Mr. Brook Alexander. Yes.
What is up? Oh, man, it's good to see you, Tom.
Brook, thank you so much for joining me, man. This is so great to have you here and to be a part of this incredible event. You know, we've got people signing in so far from all different areas, from Indiana, from Miami, from all different places around the world, literally. And they want to hear your story. And I want to go back, Brook, and just talk about, you know, I always like talking about how you kind of got involved in being involved with music and how you got involved with playing drums. And you started at a really young age.
Yeah. Pretty kind of similar to a lot of other drummers. I started when I was really young. I was about 2 years old. And, you know, same situation, just a little kid beating on my mama's furniture, tables, all that good stuff, right? And I think kind of around 2 or 3, my dad, who is also a musician, he plays piano and he plays organ. He was like, yo, this guy has really good timing. You know, it's kind of crazy. And so, you know, fast forward another year, around 4 years old, he gets me a kit, and basically the rest is history from there.
So you had music around the household that you were listening to, right?
Yeah. My whole family is musical. Like everybody, either in my family is a pastor or a musician. And so, my dad, like I said, he plays organ and piano. My mom, she's a singer and a choir director. My brother plays drums. Uncle plays piano. Cousins sing. Like it's a whole musical situation.
Well, I love it. That as was my family too. And what's great about it is that having that kind of influence of constantly having music around the household is really very inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy, good for you. So 4-year-olds, when you get your first drum set, what happened when you got your first kit? Did you just start playing? Were there any lessons involved? Who were you listening to? What was going on at that time?
I think at that time I was just playing just for the pure love and joy of it. I remember my mom telling me that I would sing this song by this group that a lot of people know about called Mint Condition. It's a song called Pretty Brown Eyes, and I would sing it and play it at the same time, just screaming my little 4-year-old vocals off, you know, going in. But I think probably around 8, I tried to take some lessons. And it didn't really work out. I wasn't very disciplined with trying to learn how to read and trying to learn technique and all that kind of stuff. I just loved playing, you know. And so that's pretty much the gist of it. You know, I just really enjoy playing, and you know, my dad would come in, pop into the room when I'm playing, and you know, he'd check on my pocket, my groove, make sure I wasn't going too crazy, trying to do a bunch of fills and all that kind of stuff, and I think as far as people I watched back then, it was mostly between the drummers that played at the churches that I attended, or at that time when I was about 8, I was watching Tony Royster, because I remember his modern drummer solo was the thing, and I was like, yo, that's what I want to do. Like he's only I think he was 12 and I was 8, so probably like 4 or 5 years older than me. I was like, if he's that much older than me, I can do this stuff, you know?
What great inspiration. I knew Tony. I met Tony when he was about 4 years old and worked with him as a young kid. He was just such a wonderful, talented kid. But the fact that you allowed that to be your inspiration is really wonderful. And now in the church scene with your dad being a pastor, were you playing in the church? Was that a part of the routine of you performing there?
Eventually it got to that point, yeah. So my dad was the organist and my grandpa was actually the pastor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So around that age, like 8 or 9, I remember the drummer that was the drummer at the time, who is now my brother-in-law, basically. Like my god sister ended up marrying him, and you know, so he's family now. But I remember at the time they were moving to San Diego, and I was 9, so my dad was like, "Hey, we need a drummer. What do you like? Let's do it." And so at that point, I became the drummer for the church around 9 years old.
So what kind of tunes were you playing at the church? What did you have to learn?
I think the only thing that I really had to learn was just to kind of be aware of what's going on. Because I know in church, especially the church that I grew up in, a lot can change. A lot was, you had to be really on your toes about the whole situation. You had to be very aware. And so my dad would be like, "Hey, pay attention to what's going on. Like, there's a time when the music is getting hype and like, don't be on the hi-hat the whole time. Go over to the ride cymbal. Like, you got to be able to be aware and see what's going on."
Yeah.
So I think that out of anything was the big thing that I learned at that age.
Well, that's so interesting that you were influenced, and there's so many phenomenal, great drummers that came out of the church influence.
Yeah.
And what is amazing for me is not only are all of you guys great drummers and great musicians, but you're great people. I mean, what an incredible combination of that influence. It really is. You're really, really good people that have great values and great integrity and putting together beautiful families.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I don't know what it is about it, but it's something about the church that kind of grounds us and really keeps us very humble and just really caring and loving toward people. So.
Well, that's I think that's part of the church influence, but I think even more powerful than that is part of your parental influence. I think your parents are absolutely fantastic, wonderful people and supportive in all that you're doing.
Absolutely, 100%.
So with your parents supportive, and here you are playing music now, were you getting together with any other musicians at the time to jam with them or play with them?
Every now and then. It was a little different at my church because we didn't have a full band. Mostly it was me, my dad, and my uncle. So we didn't have a bass player, we didn't have a guitar player, no other auxiliary keyboards or anything like that. It was just like 3-piece crispy, basically, just that. So whenever I did get to jam with other people, it was mostly with other drummers that were around my town. There were a couple that were nearby that I would just link up with and shed with. And then other musicians outside of other churches would hit me up to come and play with them, and if they ever needed a drummer or anything like that. So that's basically who I kind of got into contact with.
Well, really, really fantastic. So your dad playing organ, he took care of the bass part on organ, right?
Yes, and he still is really dope at it too. It's kind of amazing.
I've worked with many organ players that played bass either with their left hand or with their feet.
Yeah.
And which was just so much fun to play. And even though it's always nice to have a bass player, that's an experience that I learned a lot from playing with a keyboard player that was playing organ, to play and groove with them. But that's a fun trio to play. So your uncle played what instrument?
He played piano.
He played piano. Your dad played organ.
Yeah.
So you had, it probably sounded like an orchestra with those two of them.
Oh yeah, and it had to be. That's the thing. Like, my dad, like, he is amazing. Even just I would catch myself in services just watching him, and I, had to snap out of it, like, but like watching him do, support the bass with his left hand and then switch with the foot, and he that dude was no joke, timing, everything was just flawless, and I'm like, this dude is like, he's so dope. It's really dope. But he definitely helped make us sound really full in that church.
Oh, yeah, that sounds so exciting. Mm-hmm. So now, who are some of the drummers? Let's talk about drumming influences or people you would listen to. Were there any early drumming influences that you started to kind of listen to and start to learn from and pull ideas from?
Yeah, I think early on, Calvin Rogers was a massive influence, definitely, and Teddy Campbell is hands down one of my favorite drummers ever.
Teddy.
Like the taste, the attention, the dynamics. Like, that dude can legit do no wrong to me.
Yeah.
Aaron Spears, of course. Brian Fraser Moore is another favorite of mine. Yeah, beyond just playing and just live approach to playing drums, I love I love how smart he is with his technology, and like not too many people focus on that. He is so into the triggers, and he's like dialed into everything that you have to know in order to make yourself sound huge in these arenas. So I always appreciated that about him. This list can honestly go on and on forever. I'm trying to see Gerald Hayward, Marvin McQuitty.
Yeah,
Just so many. Travis Barker at the time was like a big influence as well. just so many, man. Like I was in middle school, and that's when I got introduced to rock music, like Blink 182, System of a Down, Metallica. But Travis, I think Travis was the first rock drummer that I really identified with because his chops could work in rock music, and like it was a lot of that stuff that you can get away with in church and gospel music as well. So I was like, that's kind of dope. And I actually did take a lot of his fills and use it in church. So yeah. So I was influenced by a lot of people, man.
If there's anyone to steal from, that's right. The guy you want to steal from for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all these players, like when you mentioned Aaron Spears and these guys, and Brian Fraser Moore, I've known Brian for many, many years. Mm-hmm. I'm so impressed with the commitment to the art form that you guys, meaning a younger generation. Listen, I'm way older than you, and I've been doing this for a long time. I've been teaching professionally since the age of 17 for 50 years. So I've been doing this a long time. But it really is hopeful to see players like yourself, young and into it, and still learning and still discovering and still.
Yeah. Like I feel like there's even still, I've been playing professionally for about 11 to 12 years. Actually doing the touring thing, and I still feel like there's so much I can learn. Like I'm still not done. And even with like technique, like I think that right now is what I'm really on right now. Just like because I'm getting older. Let's just be real. I'm not up there, but like I'm not as young as I used to be. I can't just wake up and go ham for 2 hours straight. I actually have to stretch. I have to do everything. And if I don't do that, I'm going into rehearsal and my ligaments are flaming.
Yeah.
So just keeping myself fresh, man. Got to do it.
Well, that's great that you see that because, I mean, it's extremely important to not only continue to grow and learn, but there's also a certain level of what I call maintenance that we have to upkeep our playing. And I know what it's like. But I mean, I'm out here performing and teaching and from my studio recording certain tunes and stuff. And it's, we've got to keep ourselves in shape. So this is a very physical instrument, and it takes energy.
Yeah, a lot. A lot. Yeah, man.
So fill me in now. So now you're getting older now. You're starting to play with certain musicians. Where did your first break come in a professional scene? All of a sudden now you were being asked to perform and being paid for in a professional situation. What was the first gig?
So my very first gig was actually with my cousin. Her name is Stevie Alexander. She's a great, amazing background singer. That her freaking resume is ridiculous. She's sung with so many people. And she had an album that she released, and she asked me, "Hey, do you wanna play for this?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Like I'll absolutely play for this. And I got to play with some of the best musicians in the world. J. Michael O'Neill on keys, Tim Stewart on guitar, who was he's one of my favorite guitar players.
Wow.
And the bass player was J.J. Smith. And these are guys that are legends that I look up to, And here I am, this little 19-year-old kid trying to keep up with these guys. It was definitely very intense, at least inwardly. Like, they were real cool about it. But me, I was freaking out on the inside. But, we did it, made it happen, and it was great. So that was technically my first paid professional gig. And my first touring break was in 2000, I want to say 10. I was about 20 or 21 years old. I got called to audition for this artist by the name of Miguel, who is massive now. Yeah. And but at the time he was a new artist, and I got hit up from a friend of mine, and he was like, "Hey, this guy's going on tour. He's getting ready to open up for Usher for 2 months.
Yeah.
They're about to leave in 2 days. They need to get another drummer. Like, you want to come down and check it out?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." Mind you, I was in college at that point. So I went, did the audition, did it for about maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then 10 minutes after I left, Miguel personally called me himself, and he was like, "Hey, so you're the guy." And I was like, "Sick." So let's go. And yeah, like 2 days later, my whole life changed. I left and, spent 2 months running around the United States, opening up for Usher. It was insane.
Boy, how powerful. Well, Miguel is fantastic. He's a huge act too also. So
Yeah.
it's great that you got him on the beginning stages. So how many songs did you have to learn from Miguel when you took that audition?
At that time, it was 6. It was 6 songs. We had a 30-minute set. So so I had to learn 6 songs in 2 days.
How did you learn those songs? Do you just listen to them over and over? Do you chart it out? Do you kind of make some notes for yourself? How do you learn music?
Then I listened to it. I just listened to it a couple times. I think now it might take a little. I might have to chart it down a little bit because, I got to keep my mind fresh, and sometimes I don't remember as quickly as I used to. But then I just listened to it, 2-3 times, and just gravitated toward the concept, and then just worked it out during the rehearsals because I knew we were going to spend a lot of time on it. So, yeah.
Cool. So when you're working on the tunes and you go into an audition, listen, you're nervous. You're going in there. How do you prepare yourself to go in there and try and do your best?
Honestly, I kind of just understood what was happening. I think growing up in church, like I said, you have to be aware, and you got to be able to kind of pick up things very quickly. Yeah. And so when I got into the audition, there was a drummer there that was already doing his audition, and it was just one song that they were playing. And during his audition, I picked up on it. I picked up on the song, I got the format, and I kind of knew exactly what they wanted to do. So by the time I got up there, I just had to do it a couple of times, and I'd already picked it up. And that's what they needed. They needed somebody that picked up stuff very quickly because they were leaving in 2 days.
Absolutely. So you had, with your cousin when you were your first professional gig, you were playing around town. You're from California?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you were playing in the California area with her, right?
Yeah. There was a club in, I think, Santa Monica that she booked her gig at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were kind of home. So now Miguel comes in, and now you're hitting the road.
Mm-hmm.
You driving? Were you flying? What was that first tour like throughout the States?
It was a tour bus. It was a tour bus. So we were driving around all over the place. That alone was an experience to just go right into it and just have to be a professional touring musician with not too much experience at the time. I just had to pick it up, just like pack my bag, let's get it cracking,
So listen, as I always say, quickly you had to put your big boy pants on, learn these tunes, and get into touring, which is a whole nother mentality.
Oh my God, yes, yeah, it was big time, and thankfully I was pretty prepared for it because I think in high school I was in a marching band. I was in drumline, and so drumline is they were very disciplined. You had to make sure you had your uniforms. You had to make sure you had your marching shoes. You make sure you had black socks, not white socks, black socks. And, there's this whole list of things that you need. And I think that kind of set me up. You had to be on time. You had to not miss the call, all that good stuff. And so that kind of prepped me for touring. And so once I got into touring, it was no problem transitioning.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic to have that level of, I guess there's a certain level of confidence that you have to have. There's a certain level of trust in your talent. So we've got to approach this stuff as maturely as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, what a difference. So how long were you out with Miguel? How long
during that tour, it was 2 months.
2 months. So you traveled throughout the entire States?
Yes.
So you went West Coast, East Coast, and then back.
Yep.
What an adventure, right? Here you are, on the road, doing it, making money, living the life of a musician. And,
yes,
and probably saying, man, this is this is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was. I was definitely saying that the whole entire time until it ended, because I think, and this is what kind of shifted my mindset. Originally, my goal was to land a gig of that stature and be able to play in all these arenas. You know, I wanted to play at Madison Square Garden. I wanted to play at Staples Center, and all of that stuff got accomplished in those 2 months, thanks to that opportunity. So when it finished, I was like, okay, now what? Like, I did it. I didn't think it would happen that fast. Like, now I did it. So what more do I want? What more is there that I can pursue and try to accomplish? And then it was just like, okay, let's just figure out how to do some stuff. Let's set this goal, write this goal, and just figure out how to make it happen.
And this is where really being a professional musician comes into play, where you have to now start to understand some of the business skills that are needed.
Exactly.
And even, you know, now how to promote yourself, how to get out and get the word out. I'm sure that was another learning experience.
Definitely, which I'm absolutely not the type to be like, hey, check me out, look at this, do this, I'm doing this, come check it. You know, I'm like, I'm still working, even now I'm still working on that. But yeah, it was a huge learning curve. You know, you gotta be able to do all that stuff. That was initially what got my foot into the door in the first place, by just stepping out and just, you know, meeting people, introducing myself. And now it's a continuous situation.
Well, that's just so great to hear. It's just so great to understand. So, Miguel, a couple of months, you're out on the road. I'm sure you're meeting a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
I'm sure you met a lot of musicians from Usher's band, talking to them. Now, all of a sudden, you're starting to kind of get into the thick of what the music industry is about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, was Demi Lovato next as far as a tour?
No, Demi was, I think, about 5 years after that, actually.
What was next after Miguel?
After Miguel was, oh my God, let me see if I can remember. This R&B artist, Kenny Lattimore.
Oh, what'd you say?
Yeah, so it was who was like, that was a cool gig, because, you know, Kenny is an R&B artist, but he's like a grown R&B artist. So I'm like 22 years old, and, you know, I have to approach this gig like a grown man. You know, I have to play like I was playing back in the 90s, you know, like grown man, all that good stuff. Yeah, so the level of maturity that was required for that was a blessing. You know, it was very cool to kind of just, you know, go from working with Miguel, who's a new young artist, and hop into Kenny Lattimore, who is a more older, mature kind of artist. Yeah. And just to have that different dynamic was really, really beneficial.
Well, that's so great. So are you an organized person? How do you organize all this here, as far as the different tours, people coming in, people are giving you cards, you're writing down names? How are you putting this all together?
Honestly, it's just being able, I mean, again, you know, going back to the church, just being aware and being able to adjust quickly. You know, like there's a lot of people you meet. There's a lot of different calls and just different everything that kind of comes through. You just have to be ready to adjust to the situation. You have to be able to understand, hey, you know, this is this type of gig. This is this type of gig. Things you do on this one, you might not be able to do on this one. So just being able to kind of like bounce back and forth and understand the differences of whatever scenario comes up.
So being flexible and being able to be, you know, adaptable in every situation is really important.
Oh, very important.
You know, wow, that's that. So now, next, how long we are there, and what was the next move to?
I was there for about a year, and then I got a call to work with this young pop artist, up and coming, by the name of Jackson Guthrie. That went for about a year and a half.
Right.
And then right after that, I worked with another pop artist named Faraz, who was Katy Perry's artist at the time.
Right. We
opened up on her tour for about 4 months. So that was cool. And then after that, we got to Demi. So, and all of that was basically with a connection from one person, one music director. So like,
that's an important aspect, to connect with those music directors.
Big time. That aspect, of course, connect with music directors, but also very important, make sure you understand, like, when you're performing, you have no idea who's watching. So, like, anybody out there that could be watching could be the reason why you get your next gig, or, you know, it just anything. And so that was one of the reasons why I've been able to kind of be steady working, you know. And these are guys that still hit me up whenever there's anything that comes their way, you know. And I've known these guys for about, I want to say 9 years now. And it's always like, hey, you busy? Like, hey, I know you're running around the world a lot, but hey, I just want to see if you're available for this stuff. And if I can, I'm here. You know, if I can't, then it is what it is. But they always keep me in mind, and I'm thankful for that.
Well, that's nice. And sometimes we're just not available. I mean, we've got to I'm not available right now at this moment.
Right.
Scheduled busy, so we have to kind of be very, very honest with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an interesting comment here. I'm going to bring this up on the screen here.
Okay.
From Marilyn Alexander. She's talking about being diverse also, right? To be diverse in your styles, you know, this is very important.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that's my mom.
Marilyn, thank you so much for joining us. This is good. But she brings up a very, very good point. And that's for that message to be brought out. That diversity is very, very important.
Absolutely.
Marilyn, thank you so much. That's fantastic. How have you been able to develop the skill of playing diverse? I mean, that means a lot of different listening, right?
Listening is honestly the most important thing. Like, I like to, like, really, really dumb it down to the basic principle. Like, God gave us these two very incredible things called ears that allow us to do a lot more than just hear stuff. And, you know, if your maturity is really on point, you would dive a little deeper and really try to understand what you can and can't get away with. Right. You know, like, the music will tell you everything. Lyrics will tell you everything. I don't just go into a rehearsal or anything and just listen to the music, listen to the drum pattern. I listen to what the bass player is doing. I listen for significant moments of dynamics. I listen to what the artist is saying, because there are so many things that you can catch. And I feel like everybody, or not everybody, I don't want to say that, but I feel like a lot of people just focus on this part of just what you can see. But if you, like, dig just a little bit deeper, you can kind of see and accent things that people aren't really paying attention to, you know, all just with listening.
Well, that's absolutely great advice. That's really, really good advice. It was kind of interesting too, because as we continue to meet these different artists and you're performing, there's got to be a certain level of changing and adapting and growing. It's a constant evolving process.
Yeah, constantly. Yeah, but there is a solid foundation of things that you can literally take everywhere. Right. You know, like, certain concepts you can apply to every single thing, no matter what, you know, and it's all just because of, hey, you know, I'm taking the time to really dig in to see what's happening here.
Well, very interesting. But I want to bring up a question here from Carlos Goodsman. Carlos is a wonderful drummer and a drum tech down in the Miami area. He's worked with many top drummers, Max Weinberg, Jerry Brown, you know, I mean, just, you know, Lee Levin, Richie Bravo, just fantastic artists.
Those are amazing drummers. What's up, Carlos?
Hey, Carlos. So he says, Brook, can you reflect on a musical situation where you became worried that you weren't the right guy, and how did you overcome it? Any advice to young drummers when they also come into the same situation? What would happen in that situation?
That's a great question, and I have a solid answer for that.
Yeah.
There has not been one situation where I went in worrying if I was the guy or not, because I was confident in what I could do.
Nice.
You know, like, I understand what I bring to the table. I understand that that my approach to a live situation is something that artists or management or anything, something that they like, something that they enjoy, and it's something that they can be confident in, that they don't have to worry about me.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, definitely not to sound arrogant or anything like that, but the only advice I would give is just know what you're solid at and just go in there and do it. That's really the only thing that you can do. Because, like, I feel like if you worry about if you're the guy or not, it'll come out of your playing. It'll come out how you walk around in the rehearsal, in the gig. Like, that stuff is very, very visible, you know? And so if you're confident, you understand musically what you bring, everything else will just take care of itself.
Boy, that's great advice. Fantastic. Carlos, thanks for a great question.
That's a good question, man. Thank you.
Really, really, you know, these are the things that that people want to inquire about as far as how do you stay prepared when situations come up that are going to challenge you? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Learning songs, and sometimes you have to learn a lot of songs in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just kind of got to just understand what it is. You know, I got to learn a lot of songs. Okay, let me just put forth the time and just make sure that when I step in that rehearsal, they don't have to worry about me. You know, that's really the only thing that you can kind of come down with.
Well, that's really fantastic. Let's go to Joe Christopherson. How much did chops come into play while touring, or is it mainly just pocket playing?
That's a good question too. Most of these, it really depends. I'll tell you how I like to do it. I like to go into this joint playing pocket. Like that is my meat and potatoes of the whole entire thing. My dad stressed this so much when I was a kid. Like as long as this is cool, you never have to worry about anything else. Because like let's get down to the fact of the matter. These people that you're playing in front of, they came to see whoever is in the front, you know, and like I would kind of be a little silly of me to just really focus on just doing all this and making sure I get heard. That's a selfish situation. You gotta understand what your part is, what your role is, and just facilitate it with super confidence and just lay that pocket down, because that's what they really want. And like my thing is, if even in sound check, you know, if I'm sound checking my drums and the front of house guy wants to hear me play, if I only play pocket. I just, you know, I start laying into a groove so that the sound guys can get everything situated and make sure that at least on my end that there's nothing they have to worry about. If I can make one person at the venue go like this, even though I'm just sound checking drums, I've done my job.
Nice.
That's like there's nothing else I need to do. You know, but every now and then, of course, there's an opportunity where you can slip one in, and they'll let you have it too. Like the music director will be like, you can stretch out a little bit and then make it happen. But mostly, I'm groove. That's my thing.
Boy, that really it's fantastic advice and great question, Joe. Thank you so much. But that really kind of what comes down to play is pocket first, and then whatever you add on, you know, on top of that, that's a whole nother level of what the excitement is about for sure. You know, I want to bring up your mom again. She brought up a point here about musical director skill. Thank you, Marilyn. And just talk about that as far as you know how to really stay, you know, honed into following what a musical director wants.
I think that depends on. I think time will kind of help that, and just kind of understanding whatever and however much you can about the music director.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that I've worked with have been like, you know, do this and, you know, don't really do anything else. Whereas my current music director, this guy Dan Cantor, guitar player, he's amazing. I love Dan Cantor so much. But he's been the most different music director that I've had. He's not really like, hey, do this and that's it. He's very like collaborative. He's like, you know, I'm seeing this. He'll say, I'm seeing this. What do you see? I can see this being a thing. And then we collectively work on a part that works for the songs that we do with Julia Michaels. And so it's been very interesting, and I really love that kind of approach. But that definitely helps, just kind of knowing what background they come from, because he's a rock guy, you know, and I'm like gospel, pop, R&B, and we kind of put it together to mash this crazy monster of very controlled and very dynamic drumming, you know. Good. So yeah, it's cool just knowing who they are.
Great advice, Marilyn. Thank you again, man. Fantastic. Well, your mom is great, man.
She's killing it, man.
On top of this, you know, it's kind of interesting. Several years ago, I was watching Good Morning America, and you were on there with I think it was Leah Michelle.
Yeah, wow, that's right.
and I saw that, and I stopped it, and I was, you know, with my wife at the time. We were watching it. I said, "Boy, this just sounded great. You played exactly what was needed in the groove. You looked professional. You played the part right. You had a variety of musicians on stage there, which was a really kind of a interesting kind of setup."
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was fun. It was like it was very interesting. That was the most different configuration band wise that I've ever been a part of. It was me on drums. There was a stand-up bass player. There was a violinist, a cello player, and a piano player.
Yeah, yeah.
And Leah, how it was explained to me, the music director, Chris Pooley, who's another one of my favorites. Like I really enjoyed working for him these past 10 or so years. But he kind of broke down the situation to me. He was like, okay, it's a pop gig, but Leah's like a Broadway singer. They kind of have a different approach. They have a different thing. The tempos kind of go up and down. They fluctuate. It's just part of their natural situation. And I've never worked with anybody like that. Mm-hmm. So going into that one, it was like, again, understanding my role. I'm just supposed to play whatever the heck I'm supposed to play and like let her do her thing. There's strings. Piano was like the piano player was the MVP of that game. Everything depended on the piano player. Wow. And so me understanding that and understanding what I could do and what I couldn't do, I had to go into this like, okay, this is different, but let's do it. I'm always up for a challenge. So that was a fun gig. It was like, I think I did that gig for about 2 or 3 weeks. It was like a 3-week tour or something, but it was very fun. It was different, but it was really, really dope.
Yeah, I mean, musically it was very, very good, and she's a wonderful singer, so it was great. Yeah. The combination of what you did. So how did Julia Michaels' gig come up? How'd you get involved with that?
I love this question. It's a cool little story how this worked out. So the music director that I mentioned, Dan, he used to be the MD for Justin Bieber. He was Justin Bieber's MD forever, and he heard about me. They were doing auditions, and he heard about me, and so I sent in a video, and that didn't work out. So cool. The following year, it was early 2017 when I was actually with Leah Michelle at that time. Yeah. He was like, hey, I got this artist, Julia Michaels. She's up and coming. She's really dope. We're looking for a drummer. I'd love for you to send in a video. And I didn't really have the time, and I couldn't really find a situation to actually send a video, but somehow I made it happen, So I sent the video, and he was like, hey, cool, thanks for the video. We're gonna go with somebody else. I'll hit you up for the next thing. Cool, just keep it pushing. Yeah. 3 or 4 months later, Julia kind of went through a couple different drummers just because they were busy, very, very busy working with other artists. And the bass player, who was a great friend of mine, Matt Kirkwood, he was like, hey, call Brook. Trust me, you want to call him. You would be very happy. And around August of 2017, Dan emailed me. He was like, hey, so we need a drummer again. After this, if everything works, you will be the guy. So, come in to this rehearsal, check it out, and, we'll kind of get a vibe and see how everybody feels, and we'll go about it that way. Yeah. And then I think 2 songs in, Dan was like, all right, yeah, you're the guy. You're the guy.
2 songs in, was this a rehearsal or an audition? How'd that work out?
This was a rehearsal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the premise was I would rehearse and do 1 or 2 gigs that they had coming up and kind of see how it went after that. Right. But after playing those first 2 songs, it was okay, yeah, no, you're good. You're the guy.
What do you think was the part of your playing that really kind of convinced them and hooked them? What do you think happened at that rehearsal?
I just think I had, again, a strong understanding of Julia's music. Julia is she's an amazing songwriter. She's hands down the best songwriter that I've ever worked with. Wow. And the way she plays with melodies and syncopations of the words and all that kind of stuff, she's so dope. And so understanding what her point was and what the point that she wanted to get across, I had to understand that very quickly. It was very different. She wants her words and her melodies to be very present. And so me understanding that, was like, okay, cool. I can do that. I can lay behind the situation. I can play like, behind the star. But there's still times where I can accentuate and show my personality in her music without completely stepping over everything that she's trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they realized. And like, of course, my pocket was strong. Again, not to be arrogant, but I'm very confident in that, and I love it. So that's what kind of, I think, hooked them to having me be a part of the project.
Fantastic. So you're doing this gig now. You're hitting the road. What was the first tour like with Julia?
It was amazing. The first tour that we did was the fall of that year, 2017. We flew out to Australia and we opened up for Shawn Mendes for about 7 shows.
Nice.
During his Australia run, and that tour was really dope. It was her first time doing a tour, and kind of being like the front person, and she killed it. She was ready, and she fed off the energy, and she fed off of us too. Yeah. We kind of had to give her that confidence, like, hey, you got this. We're gonna go up there and we're gonna play like we know what we're doing. So like, you got us, and she just rocked it. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Well, how fantastic. So you're traveling with her, you're doing your thing, you're playing, you're doing all these different gigs. So are you traveling throughout the States? What kind of touring are you doing?
With her, it was a lot of overseas stuff. So it was a lot of Australia, a lot of Europe, and a good amount of the US too. So we spent like a good amount of our time between those 3 spots.
So what was it like? Had you been overseas before? What was it like? You got to get a passport. You got to get yourself together. There's a lot that you got to prepare for that.
Yeah. So I think honestly, the very first tour I got, which was the Miguel situation I was telling you about, I didn't have a passport then, but right when I got it, my mom was like, "You need a passport," and I was like, "All right, so let's go get one." So I've had one ever since I started working.
Smart.
But I think the first time I went overseas was 2011 with Miguel. We did a show in London, so that was the first place I ever went that was overseas. 2015 was my first time being in Australia, and I actually ended up, I think throughout that whole year, I ended up going to Australia 4 times with 3 different people.
Fantastic.
It was nuts.
I love traveling myself, and unfortunately, because of the pandemic, there hasn't been much traveling.
Yeah.
During this pandemic, what have you been doing to keep yourself, active and mentally and physically fit?
Honestly, I'm gonna be very, very honest. As far as drumming goes, I haven't been doing a whole lot. I'm gonna just keep it all the way real. Like I'm not gonna lie to you.
Good.
But I think what I've been doing outside of that is just running. Running for about 30 minutes. I run around my house. Yes. And then just especially mentally, I think just kind of understanding that, hey, this pandemic, it was whack for a lot of reasons. Unfortunately, there was a lot going on, and it's like, a lot of people experiencing stuff. But honestly, for me at least, it was a blessing. It was a time for me to slow down, because I think prior to 2020, I was constantly going. Next tour, next gig, next performance, and not really having any time to kind of just slow down and check out. And 2020 was a good reason to just like chill, read some books. My daughter was born May 9th of 2020. Wow. So just like taking that time to hang with my family, hang with my wife, and just kind of, watch her grow up. That has all been a part of just mentally staying sane and just, being happy and all that good stuff. Yeah. So at least musically speaking, all I do is just listen to music. I love movie scores. Movie scores is one of my favorite things to listen to. Listening to the new artists that are coming out. Just that's it. Just listening, laying back, sitting on the couch, just soaking it all in. That's basically all the stuff I do to just kind of, you know.
That's also a very powerful way to stay on top of things. Listening is a key aspect. Are you involved? Have you ever gone through any drum books? Were there any drum books that you've been through at all, Brook?
Not, you know, there's a couple that I've had a long time ago. I need to find them because I definitely want to go back and, like, you know, like I said, hey, solid times is just, you know, maintenance, like you said. Like, so let me just, you know, find these books. I gotta find them somewhere. But, you know, just read them, make sure my reading is still good. Because, you know, on pop gigs, there's not a lot of charts unless you actually write it out or anything like that. But, you know, brush up on the reading. Again, brushing up on technique, making sure, you know, that my technique is solid and I'm not doing anything to ruin my body and my arms and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Using a metronome too, you know, because like even playing tracks and playing with click tracks and everything, there is a difference between playing with click, playing with tracks, and just playing with a metronome. Believe it or not. And sometimes, you know, you just turn that metronome on and you think your timing is all right, but you're so used to hearing everything else that you kind of get off. And I'm like, oh shoot, I need to just sit there with a pad and just play some eight notes and make sure that my timing is cool. You know,
that's a real wake up call for sure.
Oh, seriously.
You know, well, there are books like Stick Control, which is a great book. That's a real good hand technique book.
That's the one I have. I gotta find it.
So books like Syncopation. There are certain books that are pretty helpful that are foundational books that keep us going and keep us strong. And I know when I talk to all of my great friends in this incredible industry, they still go through books like Stick Control and so it's pretty powerful to keep going. Boy, good stuff. Let's talk about Mapex flyers. You got a Mapex kit back there. I think it's a Mapex Saturn kit.
Yeah.
Okay, now you've been with Mapex for about, what, 3 or 4 years, I think?
4 years.
4 years, okay.
Yeah, and it's been...
What's that like when you're out tour, when you're using Mapex? How do they sound? How do you feel with them?
I mean, like, it's really... It's inexplicable. Like, these drums make you feel like you can conquer the whole entire world, you know? I think the best feeling, one of the best feelings ever is to, like, sit down in a massive arena that's empty and just kick, especially that part when the front of the house guy is like, okay, Brook, kick the kick drum from me. That first kick, and you hear that boom, and you just feel all of that stuff. I'm like, yes, like, oh, I love this so much. And the drums are amazing. They sound amazing. They're super durable. They take a serious beating during the show and just traveling all over the place. Like, you know, these bad boys are unstoppable.
Boy, that's absolutely fantastic, man. You know, this, and I know I've got on here. Bob Terrio was one of the guys that signed you, and Bob himself is a great guy, and one of my favorite people. Man, he's really a good player and a good understanding.
Yeah, Bob, what's up, man?
He works on, man. Bob is still out there doing it and doing fantastic with it. Bob, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, and Bob, is it cool if I share this story real quick?
Sure.
Because I think I love this. Just this aspect made it that much more obvious that I you know was very thankful to be a part of the company. When we were playing with Julia, we opened up for Room 5, and I remember after that show, Bob emailed me and was like, "Hey, Dom Famularo is at the concert, and like he noticed your kid. He wants to say hi to you." And I was like, that is really cool. Like, it's very cool that you wanted to talk to me, but it was cool of Bob to kind of relay that message to me. And so I remember my wife, who was my fiance at the time.
Yeah.
We went up there and we said hi to you, and it was just like, I was like, shit, this is like just little stuff like this. I love that little stuff. It makes such a difference, you know. Like, I actually feel like I'm a part of a community, a part of a family. You know, and so they just wanted to make sure that the connection was made, and that was great. I always remember that, man.
I remember that so well. I went to my wife is a huge Maroon 5 fan, so
yeah.
And when I heard you come out and play, man, I said, "Dang, he's playing great, man! Your pocket, your attention to detail, your dynamics, everything, Brook, was just fantastic." And here I am. I've been in this business a long time, and I had that. And then I had talked to Bob on the phone. I said, "Bob, Brook is killing it." He goes, "Oh man, let me get a hold of Brook and see if I can connect you guys together." the brilliance of Bob Terry, man. Just be able to connect people. But again, it was so great to meet you and your fiance, now your wife, and now you've got a beautiful baby daughter.
Yes. Beautiful Abby just turned 1 yesterday. I still can't believe it.
I had a chance before we started to see her. She's a beautiful child, and you've got a great situation going on. Well, Brooke, listen, you've got a wonderful family. You're living your dream, your passion. You're involved with a company like Mapex, which is so supportive of what you do. You've got really, a lot of people supporting you, and they want you to be successful and continue doing what you're doing. So I wish you the best, man. Keep on going. Keep it absolutely strong and honest as you always do.
Absolutely,
and keep playing and keep inspiring people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate this time. It was great to just talk with somebody of your stature and your wisdom. Like, you're the guy, man. I greatly appreciate this time with you, man, for real.
Thank you so much, Brook. Well, you've got all my info. Anyway, I can help you out. Email me and call me anytime.
Yeah, of course.
You get to the East Coast here where I am in New York, you make sure you give me a holler and we'll touch base for sure. And if I get out to the West Coast, I'll track you down too, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, bro.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much, Brooke. Stay well, stay safe. Hopefully we'll see you real soon. Everyone that joined us, thank you so much. We had people, Brooke, we had people from Artemis Core, who's from Moscow. We had people from all around the world here. I mean, this is incredible. People that have joined us here and came on and just in their support for you. So this is able to, people can log on to Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah.
This is incredible. You've done fantastic. And you give your mom a big kiss for me. She did great today.
I will. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Brooke. Stay well.
All right, you too, man.
Bye-bye.